Mark Rogers, South Lancaster Speakers Club. My speech entitled Homeschooling is Better Than Traditional Education in Very, Very, Very Small Doses. Would you agree that, as a generalistic rule of thumb, with children of normal school ages, starting from around 5 years and above, in terms of their daytime schooling, that they are going to be better educated in overall terms by attending the usual types of private, state and church-based traditional classroom schoolings, etc., with all the other pupils in attendance? Is one of the obvious major factors here about the huge need for child socialisation, arguably within mixed gender traditional schooling too, in full preparation for their outside of school future world, including the whole of their subsequent working lives and beyond, or in order to be able to learn to cope with distraction should they go to an all-boys school, darling. The huge amounts that pupils learn, just only from their peers, as fellow pupils can influence, develop and get to know each other far more than teachers get to know the children. Does this substantiate the theory put forward by Mark Twain when he stated, "I never let my schooling interfere with my education"? End of quotation. However, knowledge transfer cannot, of course, be ignored, because another main purpose of any education is to replace an empty mind with an open mind. I shall never forget my own education. On my first day at school, my parents dropped me off at the wrong nursery. There I was, surrounded by trees and bushes at the garden centre. Later on in my schooling, my father wanted me to have all the educational opportunities he never had. He sent me to a girls' school. Are there many other more important factors in determining the best forms of education? For example, does more credence and attention need to be given to the survey and analysis made of the millionaires in California during the 1970s, when it was discovered that the common denominator of these millionaires was not their academic prowess? Instead, it was in fact that the millionaires get on well with people. However, again, as a general rule of thumb, if a parent is seeking additional schooling tuition for a child in the evenings or weekends or school holidays outside of normal school hours, then surely one-to-one teaching by a suitably qualified and professional private teacher visiting the child in their own home can be very effective, especially from a potentially academic attainment point of view. For hasn't it generally been proven beyond all reasonable doubt whatsoever that the smaller the total number of pupils in a given classroom, under the proverbial teacher to pupil ratios, the better it is for the child student from an academic perspective? This being due to the more direct and individual attention that the pupil will receive from a teacher. But is home professional tuition and education suitable for more than just purely remedial purposes? Because can home professional tuition and education also be about the pursuit of absolute excellence in values and academic attainment? Like in many areas of the workplaces, where one-to-one expert tuition is arguably attributable to the most able deserving the most support. Conversely, turn that on its perhaps undisputed back with a quotation from Stephen Leacock in his book entitled My Discovery of England in 1922, when he stated, "Most people tire of a lecture in 10 minutes. Clever people can do it in 5. Sensible people never go to lectures at all." End of quotation. Could the quotation mean that learning by oneself at home can be even more effective than being educated in a one-to-one situation? Through research, discovery learning, and parrot fashion assimilation of key material. Can this viewpoint be further supported by the officials themselves from traditional education? Because apparently a mother once telephoned the school to ask if her son was homesick. "I very much hope that he is," replied the headmaster. "I shouldn't think much of his home if it wasn't." What about mixtures and variety with the added benefits of the teamwork in traditional education? Thankfully, there is no insular I in teamwork. The proverbial 2 good heads being better than 1. A communicating community of interest in traditional education. Also, liaising and comparing notes with other similar communities of interest. Developing and sharing best and worst practices. Apparently, the Department of Education officially favours the comprehensive school of traditional education over homeschooling, and indeed over every other type of schooling. This is because a comprehensive school education for other pupils ensures that when the children of the Department of Education staff leave their public schools, they have minimal competition for university places at Cambridge and Oxford. Nevertheless, what about those pupils which attend traditional state schools who can read Shakespeare, the Bible, and shoot dice? This is called a liberal education. Alas, in conclusion, regardless of whether it is home or traditional schooling, the education is supposedly all about being 9/10 encouragement. Surely any such education is of little worth if it teaches only on how to make a living rather than how to make a life. Will there always continue to be similarities between all forms of schooling and the activities in many various types of workplaces? In that, like with good contractors in the commercial world, good teachers may cost a lot, but bad teachers cost a whole lot more. Also, if remote homeschooling is so undesirable and unsuitable for children, then does this mean that there are also many drawbacks for adults too in any of their extensive remote home working? If so, despite the advantages of adult remote home working, then do the drawbacks of it need to be adequately assessed, mitigated, and overcome? Or is there another possibility that one day a home might revert to being nothing more than a place to hang one's hat and educate the cat